This is one of the most amazing trees in all of southern Alberta. It's a Fairfield cottonwood, and it's been here for an awful long time. So I brought my measuring tape to tape this tree to see how actually big it is. So if I go from where it comes out of the ground, right there, and measure it to this side right here, it measures to 16 feet. This is a 16-foot diameter Fairfield cottonwood here in southern Alberta. When I found this tree, I was absolutely amazed. And if you look at it and the history that a tree like this has, it's gotta be 200, maybe 300 years old. Who knows? But you don't find trees like this big on a prairie in the middle of southern Alberta. Ever. Never. So here we are doing this great video on trees. It's Douglas Wade Hornberger. My friends call me Wade. My stage name on Treevee on YouTube, I call myself Douglas Fir, the defiant Doug Fir. And in all that I have done for the trees in the last bunch of years, I have it all compiled on Treevee on YouTube. And I'm asking you guys to go watch my tree tutorials because it's educational. But when you watch 2 or 3 or 5 or 8 or even all my videos, you'll see a pattern. And that pattern is not a good thing. Because I've identified a hazard in Calgary that could take that city right out. Found a pattern that says that maybe Calgary is gonna burn. What? We need to deal with these forests or we're gonna lose them. And if we lose these forests, we're gonna lose all that photosynthesis. We lose that photosynthesis, that's pure oxygen going into our system. And with all the poisons and all the chemicals that we put and emit into our atmospheres, we need these trees to survive. And the Bow Valley Parkway, all the way from Lake Louise right to Calgary, is a major filtration device for our planet. And our planet is so vast, and that is so small, but it's all those things interconnected that bring us fresh air. And if we don't take care of that system, the system is going to be broken down. And when it's broken down, who knows how we're going to recover it. So let's fix it first. Let's fix it before it's broken. We need to get into these forests and we need to do our due diligence to these trees to maintain them and do the maintenance that's necessary. We never clawed our way to the top of the food chain on this planet and then decide that we're not going to take care of our forests and we're not going to take care of our oceans and our rivers and our trees and our forests. We are the stewards of this planet. And we can decide right now, here, that we are going to take care of the Bow Valley Parkway. Reducing the fuels, therefore reducing the fire. Reduce the fire, you reduce the threat. You reduce the threat, now we can fight against this scourge called wildfire. And back in history, we used to call them forest fires. Forest fires would come every 20 or 30 years and mop up the forest floor and re-nutrient everything and clean it all up. But because we've suppressed fire, and Smokey the Bear has something to do with this, by the way, Because we've reduced the fire cycles in our forests, we have increased our fuel loads. And that's why we're seeing catastrophic wildfire. In Australia, they stopped pruning and grooming and manicuring their national forests because of whatever reason. But that made those forests grow thick and thatched. And it was the national forests that really did the massive amounts of damage during the Australian fires. California, the Santa Ana winds of California that come in, fire kicks up, and it exacerbates that fire to the point where instead of just this low-level forest floor mopping fire, add wind to the mix. Now we got catastrophic wildfire. Do you love your forests? If you do, then let's get after this. So my plan is we start at Bragg Creek. That's where we train. That's where we learn how to run chainsaws and run equipment and organize and find out the camaraderie and the coexistence that we're gonna have to do to make this all work. Because the only way we're gonna reduce the fuels in these forests is by manpower and machine power and light impact machines that can just go in, float along the ground, and basically reduce this, reduce that, reduce this, reduce that. Whether it's just a chainsaw operator that's raising the skirts, and then another guy that comes behind and then pulls those fuels out, puts them in a spot, lights it on fire. By reducing the fuels at the bottom of the tree, it reduces the chances of ignition where that fire comes in, hits that tree, and then poof, everything is all gone. But when fire comes in and that fuel is in there between the forest floor and the canopy of the tree, there is no fire that inundates that tree. Therefore, that tree lives. That forest lives. It continues photosynthesis for the rest and duration of its life. It produces pine cones so that pine cones can fall off the top of the tree and fall onto the ground and produce the next wave of trees. But if that's not there, none of it happens. Then we have a reduction in our water, our clean water system, our filtration device, that trees filter all this water so that it comes out clean. If we have nothing but an open hillside full of dead trees, how is that going to hold back all that water in the spring? And all of a sudden, those soils are reduced and sent downstream. That took hundreds and thousands of years to be up there. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a tree guy that's been doing something for such a long time that I'm starting to understand how these systems work in our forests. And when I see Banff, Lake Louise, Canmore, Bragg Creek, and Calgary, and the amount of fuel in this system, we are in serious trouble. So serious that I'm predicting the fire to be possibly this year. So we need to get ready. And if we don't get ready, we have 1.3 million evacuees. Rich, poor, addicted. They're all going to be going somewhere else, and it's going to be in a quick hurry. This is a disaster that we need to evade. So, I have the Cowboy Roast House at Bragg Creek, which is pretty much the start of where this all happened 5 years ago. It's a food pod where we can feed 1,000 people a day right there. So if we're going in to train and we're going in to learn how to deal with these forests, we could almost call it an army. Now, armies live off their stomachs or run by their stomachs. So you get good food, you get a good army. And that's part of what my cowboy roast house is. And if any of you guys have tried it out there at Bragg Creek, you'll know that it's pretty amazing food. We need everybody to start watching these tutorials, these videos that I've done on YouTube, on TV. We need subscribers. We need you to go watch it and then subscribe. The more subscribers we have, it's an indicator of how people are starting to get more educated on this issue right in their own region. Because instead of hearing about California and hearing about Australia and Fort Mac and all the rest of the fires, this is you. This is you. You will be directly affected by this. And I know how to reduce these fuels, but I need manpower to go and do it environmentally safe. I don't need a bunch of clear-cut loggers and debunchers and delimbers and heavy equipment to go in there and decimate these forests. You might as well just let them burn. Let's go in, like I've said many times on these videos, we need to brush, we need to weed, thin, deadwood, clean, and reduce these fuels. If we don't, the end is not pleasant. So go to TreeV on YouTube, watch my videos, and subscribe. And then share, and then phone, and communicate with other people. And say, listen, you gotta go to TreeV. You gotta watch Wade. Listen to some of the videos. Watch, educate yourself. Teach yourself about your surroundings. Because if you have something coming that's this big, you would want to know about it. Especially if you have kids. Because what are you going to do? You're going to end up in a community center? You're going to end up out in a field with nothing? 1.3 million people. Where are they going to go? What are we going to do with them? So even the people in southern Alberta that aren't directly affected by this fire in Calgary will have people, evacuees, coming to their homes. Because there's nowhere to go. This is a preemptive strike on something that is coming. So even if it's not this year, we need to get ready for it. I believe that it's going to be this year. I predicted the fire 2 years ago. It never came. We had so much moisture. But it increased the fine fuels because of so much moisture. It increased the fine fuels, which is a bad thing. Then last year, did you get your fire last year? No, I didn't. Till fall, when we had a fire in Canmore, we had a fire in Cochrane, we had a fire in Banff, and snow, winter, put those fires out. Well, that was last fall. It's spring. So if we get dry lightning strikes or an uncareful camper or a bunch of kids playing with matches and something erupts and we end up with a wind, we are in trouble. So let's do the due diligence that we need to do to our forests to make this happen. Now, TreeV on YouTube. Watch it. I got lots of videos. Educate yourself. And then it's time for action. Thank you very much.